Welcome to Diddygate. We are covering day 29, which might be the end of the whole thing, it sounds like. My goodness. I guess he will be stopped. I didn't think they would be. Bad boy for life. No, not today. He took 20 minutes. Diddy defense rested after 20 minutes, guys. The prosecution rested today. We're going to explain what happened. And then the defense started theirs. And Kim has informed me they took about 20 minutes before the defense rested as well. Wow. I mean, there's part of me that's like, wow, that's a confident sort of mic drop. And I'll be honest, I have some concerns. This may work in his favor. I'm going to go there, guys. I know some of you don't want to hear it. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm going to explain my thought process as we get to that. But there's a lot to discuss because this was the end. And now closing arguments are going to start on Thursday, it sounds like. Tomorrow's sort of a jury deliberation day where they're going to go through some things. But before we get to what's coming, let's talk about what happened day 29, Kim. So what happened before court? Before court, while we're all, this is a weird day today. As many of the comments are saying, nobody likes this timeline. We're facing World War III potentially now. America's just stepped into it. Now we're getting involved for some reason. And it's just kind of a mess today. The president of the United States went on live TV to say the F word. Like, I think it's a first. It's a first. And then on top of that, Justin Baldoni seemingly dropped his defense. Check out this morning's video. And Diddy dropped 20 minutes. It's a weird day, as we were talking about in the beginning. But Kim, let's start. How did Diddy begin today? There was a TMZ article that the defense may invoke Iran as the real threat here.
Yes. Apparently, according to TMZ, which had an exclusive on Diddy's defense, which, considering everything else that has happened through this trial, the connections between the defense team and TMZ, not to mention the judge wanting to strictly enforce the gag order of the legal team speaking to the media and not letting, the public know about things that they shouldn't know about. The whole thing of it looks pretty sus, but yes, I'm sure you guys
I'm going to do a new
that.
catchphrase. Forget Ricola, payola. That's what this sure sounds like.
Payola, allegedly. But yes, apparently it was reported by TMZ that the closing arguments for Diddy were going to bring up the conflict in Iran and say that the government should be focusing on that and not Diddy's bedroom. Which to me was just the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I cannot. But this was very much on everybody's mind going into court this morning. Today, the defense was going to take over as soon as the prosecution ended their last witness. We were told originally that the defense had a large case to present, weeks worth of information, and then it became 5 days, and then it became 2 days, and then it became a day and a half, and then it became half a day. And I can say, based on my timing, looking at the timestamps of the reporting, I believe that the entire Diddy defense took 24 minutes at max.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was ridiculous. But
there we go. So
before the jury came in,
feels that they didn't need to do anything but rest their case Tuesday after the prosecution rested theirs because the defense believes prosecutors haven't met the burden of proof on the charges against Diddy. Now, I'll be honest. I've spoken to a lot of people, Kim. There are a lot of people out there who agree with this. It is a take out there that's not completely far-fetched or out of nowhere. So we will go through it and talk about it. Before the jury entered, though, the court started with the lawyers from both sides debating other evidence. Yes, prosecution objected to a message that Cassie sent. She wanted to be intimate with Diddy. Defense argued that the text was the day before a freak-off, an attempt to show that Cassie willingly engaged in freak-offs. Prosecution argued that she wanted intimacy with her boyfriend, not other men. The judge sustained the objection, saying that the message was about a one-on-one encounter. Judge overruled another objection, including a text Cassie sent saying she wanted baby oil. Judge noted that it's difficult to tell whether this message was referring to a one-on-one encounter unrelated to a hotel night. Judge also allowed in a text where Cassie said she had taken medication that starts with A and ends with and referring to a freak-off. That's pretty hot. The judge also overruled a government objection to a text when Cassie asked if she could do a freak-off without getting high, to which she replied she could. So they did. So overall, some of these texts did get in.
Yes. There were some wins for the prosecution and there were some wins for the defense. And then we moved on to the witness that we had on the stand yesterday and on Friday. and Tinny Garagos was continuing her cross-examination of this witness. And we went back to the same old, we're going to look at all of these text messages and essentially try to shame the women, put doubt on the case that way. We were told at the end of Monday that Tenny had an hour and 15 minutes worth of questions to ask this witness. It took longer than that. And it was painful at points to have to sit through this. So I'm sure you guys will get a vibe for it as we go through, but it was a lot.
So they're there speaking to Jane, yes? So let's get into the Garagos, took the jurors through text messages between Diddy and the former girlfriend, Jane, and worker from December 2021. In the messages, Jane appears to be showing that she enjoyed a session she had with Diddy, telling him, haven't stopped thinking about it, it just gets better and better. In messages to the worker, she asked him to elaborate about their night and told him that was one for the books. Other messages showed Jane contacting the worker herself in the days after. Jane wrote to Sly that she was thinking about one of their recent hotel nights. Jane wrote, send me something. She then asked him if he could fly to meet her that night. On the next day, when Sly said he was busy with Christmas preparations with his family, she suggested he make it a day trip. Jane previously testified that she only initiated explicit messages with Sly when she was with Diddy, who told her to. So a lot of this doesn't look good, Kim. I'm going to be honest. In another exchange, Diddy texted Jane to tell her he was having crazy fantasies about her and a worker. She replied saying she wanted to make love to Diddy and she hadn't seen him in a while, with selfishly for 5 months. Other messages later showed Jane telling Diddy she loves him and saying she would not take him for granted. The jury saw messages Diddy and Jane sent to Paul in early 2022. Jane texted Paul asking if he was ready for some fun tonight. And Paul, for those of you who forget,
how can you make me look like that in front of Paul?
Let me know if that played. I don't think it played yesterday. Did you guys hear that? Hopefully you did.
Hope you guys heard it. It was great.
Another one. Did you hear me say?
Another one.
Are my drops working? Let me know in the chat. So Paul, yes, these are text messages with Paul asking if he was ready for some fun. She then told him she should come after the butlers were finished helping, and he could wait in the lobby if he got there early. Diddy also texted Paul around that time saying, hold up, the staff is outside. They leave now. Hang tight. Garagos reviewed records and text messages related to hotel night when it appeared that Diddy and Jane were taking steps to prevent staff from seeing a man involved in the hotel nights. When they were planning a hotel night, Diddy texted Jane, can I walk in on you and Paul? I would like that. She said yes, and asked him what time she should tell the entertainer. Maybe 9:30, so he doesn't run into anyone. Jane texted Paul later, okay, let's make sure the coast is clear. In another thread planning hotel night, Diddy asked Jane to find a location, telling her, I can't have KK, no, damn. Jane arranged for well, that's interesting. So he's admitting that KK wasn't supposed to know about some of the stuff that's happening. Jane arranged for an entertainer to meet them and said she had picked up new outfits. When Diddy asked if she was in the mood, she replied yes. Diddy later texted Jane, did you get the pill? Hit me when the coast is clear. Joey is gone and Italian is pulling up. The next day, Jane texted Diddy an explicit message and told him, I love you, loving on me and you. Garagos reviewed some of Jane's messages. Jane texted Diddy about an available entertainer and said she was trying to arrange some things for a trip. He didn't respond to a few of her messages and then said, baby, all is set. Jane also texted one of the entertainers asking when he would be able to fly to Miami. Days later, she texted the entertainer that she was setting up the hotel. Later that day, Jane told him, give me a sec, clearing out the assistant. They had to stop by to drop off stuff and asked him to wait in the lobby. Hours later, she texted the entertainer to thank him for coming out and told him that she could send payment through Zelle. Text messages from August, Jane and Diddy discussed having the entertainer sign a NDA. Diddy asked Jane what she thought of the new guy. Jane replied, he seems cool, babe. Hopefully he doesn't know anybody we know, LOL. She also said she would make sure the man signed the paperwork. Based on the messages reviewed in court, it was unclear whether Jane followed through on the NDA or if they hired the entertainer for the hotel night. At times, Jane's life was delicate balance between her passion for Diddy and her responsibilities as a single mom. In a series of August texts, Diddy graphically discussed adult activities in the same breath as her back-to-school shopping list for her son. Jane called that her mommy mode. Garagos reviewed text messages between Jane and Diddy from late September. In the conversation, They discussed flight options for the entertainer Sly, exchange explicit messages. I love being kinky for you. I love driving you wild. Jane told Diddy she needed to get outfits from the freak store and that she was pale and hadn't had her nails done. I effing love it. Diddy responded the next day. Jane texted Sly, tonight was amazing as per usual. I don't shoot the messenger. I'm just prepare because there are a lot of people, Kim, and audience who are going to read all these and go, well, what the hell? She's super into this. She's engaging. She's involved. She's just as complicit. This is part of the problem. I had a big argument before, Kim, with somebody, I won't say who, but, who firmly believes that the prosecution is doing a terrible job because these are all, sex workers in a way, girlfriends, whatever, but they're all getting rewards to do these incidences with Diddy and they're aware of it. And, if they don't want to do it, then get a job and get your rent paid another way. If you want your rent paid with Diddy doing this is what a lot of people are thinking. You know what I'm saying? There's an argument, and I got to be fair. It's a fair argument that I could see some in this jury might feel as well. Well, I see through this. I think Diddy's a monster, and I don't like what he's doing here. But when we look at the evidence that we're being presented and we're seeing some of these responses, I understand Stockholm Syndrome. I understand some of this, but I also know there's some people out there who probably just wanted to get free rent. And we're like, whatever, I'll deal with Diddy to get the free rent. There's a lot of people, a lot of women and men, trash people who do that. And there's some people who won't see that they're doing it because they're being pressured to. So it's a fine line. It's complicated. All I'm trying to say is these texts aren't helpful. They aren't for certain mindsets. It's gonna, cause doubt of, well, she knew what she was doing, right or wrong. Don't shoot the messenger, but I'm just saying I see why they're spending so much time on this stuff because it's painting this picture of consent. It's painting the picture of I knew what we were doing. I was sneaking around. I was complicit in it too. I'm aware. I'm an adult, which, is what the whole argument is. And it'll be very, interesting to see what the jury actually says. I can't fully fight that argument, Kim. You know what I mean? Some of the, just to pause as we go through it, do you see what the other side is saying? And can you see some of their point?
I do see their point, but I disagree with it heavily because I think ultimately, okay, here's what I'll say. Let's say you and I are, we're at a convention or something, we're on a trip, and you say to me at one point, take $5 out of my wallet and go buy some donuts or something. And I go, cool. And I go into your wallet and I take $5 out and I go. And then you tell me another time, grab $10 and go and grab us some drinks. Okay, I go grab us some drinks. Then I decide one time to go into your wallet without talking to you. You gave me consent to take out those dollars on those occasions. You didn't give me consent to take the dollars out on that one occasion. In that one occasion, I stole from you. That's the way consent works. And we have text messages from these women saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I feel violated. Stop doing this to other women. Blah, blah, blah. That is also written. I feel like for every text we have of these women saying, oh, I love it, which they admitted at points they did. We also have text messages of them saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not a rag doll. I'm someone's daughter. All that type of stuff.
Yeah, but talk about Jane, because I agree. Like, there's Cassie, and Cassie did that, and I would agree regarding Cassie. Cassie did feel more someone else that had groomed. I agree, but I'm talking some of these other women they've brought in. It's a little different for me. It's not the same as Cassie. I'll be honest. It's a little bit more like they know what they're doing. They're the side piece. And there is a part of me that's like, okay, you're agreeing to be his side piece. You're agreeing to do this freaky stuff with him. You're agreeing to pay sex workers and do illegal activities. You're then getting rewards for it monetarily. That makes them workers too at a point. And it's, I get it. Some of these women are enamored and Diddy's a monster. I'm not defending him. Is this actually though what the jury's going to deem, his charges are of, well, yeah, these women were, abused. Were they? And I just asked it. I asked the chat, and it's way more middle than I thought it would be. Do you believe all these women didn't have a choice? Some of them did, I feel like. And they chose to stick around and do the freak offs to keep the lifestyle going and keep this stuff happening. And that's where I do think the prosecution's worried. Because again, I'm not trying to say Diddy's going to get off and should. I'm just trying to say, where's Christina Carone? Where's the rest of this, group that apparently helped make this all complicit? All these women came forward and acknowledged and proved that Diddy was a monster. But why didn't we get any of these other agents and payments to prove that the entire business was, part of this? Someone says you can't blame the victim. Well, let me ask the tougher question. If you hire a hooker and the hooker knows what they're doing and agrees to those terms, is that hooker a victim? If they're an adult who agreed to the terms and did it. Let's imagine we're in Amsterdam where it's legal, whatever it is. They're not trafficked in. They're adult consent of their own mind and will, and they decide to have that action for money, and they agree to it consensually. Is that person a victim, Kim?
I think that's a loaded word. I think the other part of this that really gets me when we're talking about hiring people to do these acts and them consenting is it doesn't really matter when you bring them across state lines.
Sure. Now that right? Thank you. That because again, it's got to. I don't want people to think I'm defending Diddy here and trying to victim blame. I'm not. I'm just
no. You're playing devil's advocate.
I try to look at all sides, and I want to play with the other. I do see some of the arguments out there, and I think they have a point, and I think it's important we discuss that point because it may be what the jury agrees and lets him get off on some of these charges. Because Jane, as an example, are they going to really think, well, she kept coming back, she kept flying on, she kept taking the money, she kept calling the workers. And I get it. If they've been groomed or pressured into that, it's one thing. But what is that evidence? That's more important to me than that. Diddy kept making me have sex with Paul. Okay, well, you agreed. Granted, it's gross. Granted, Diddy's a scumbag, worst boyfriend in the world. Okay, but what's illegal about it? Now, crossing state lines, good point, right? Especially if they're being paid. That's where these things are key. But I'm worried. I'm getting worried because I see a lot of people are coming to me, Andy, come on, you really think Diddy's guilty? And I'm like, of course. But then they start arguing, yeah, but some of these women clearly knew what they were doing. They're not trafficked in. Sure, they were taken across state lines to do these exchanges, but they knew what they were up for doing, I think. And so that's where I worry this is all going to get more complicated. And this is some of these text exchanges, they don't help, in my opinion. They don't help at all. And while it's aggressive and bad, I agree. Like seeing all this positivity is tough. Now, at a certain point, let's get to those. And we already did, I guess, saw those texts from Jane's where she said she wanted to stop. And that's obviously more relevant. But I worry some of this stuff and some of the arguments out there are going to start taking shape. And this is where Diddy could ultimately win is what I think is going to happen. And some of these people might not have helped as much as getting the business and the criminal enterprise more clearly proved of all these people who are aware and batting a blind eye to women saying no is really what I guess I just wanted to see more of and expected more of. I don't know. We'll see. Let's keep reading and then we'll come back. I don't want to keep arguing and pushing the same point over and over again. Where we stopped here. So tonight was amazing as usual. It's it's at this point, it's 1 p.m. Garagos is still going. Even the Washington Post is commenting. Cross-examination of the special agent has gone on over much longer than defense Tenney estimated on Monday when she said it would last an hour and 15. She started just before 10. She's still going. Intercity quoted Garagos as saying, let's just quickly look at while pulling up messages. None of this was quick. This was painful. Reporting has slowed down. It's dramatically boring. I get it. I agree. But it's clear she's trying to really hit the jury over the head of, here's all the consent. Here's all the consent. I'm going to drown you with consent to try to distract you from the previous no that she said later. Look at all this consent, guys. And she's a hooker. See? That's what they're trying to do. And I worry it's going to work, Kim. I worry it's going to work. A lot of the public are like, yep, who cares? Who cares? And that's what's troubling me, to be perfectly fair.
I made this point because I'm sure there are text messages that I have not detailed in these notes. I'm sure there are things that I don't have that were said today in court because at one point it was like all of the reporting came to an absolute standstill because it was almost like the reporters had it. Everybody had it. And at this point, like everyone's going, are we going to lunch? The jurors are like, when do we get to pee? Like what is happening? And it just kept going over and over and over. And it did continue. It continued.
So then date on February 19th, one of the summary charts, Garagos brought up a message from KK and Brandon Paul, not
Paul,
asking if they were just chilling at Jane's home, which Paul confirmed they were. Rightfully so, it shouldn't have been on the chart, and it wasn't. Fair enough. Flight records showed Jane flew to Miami from LA the days before Diddy posted his Instagram apology, responding to the release of surveillance footage showing the Intercontinental. Garagos confirmed with the agent that the records listed in the summary chart do not indicate any evidence of a third-party meeting with Diddy and Jane during that time. Garagos showed the jury records from September to November, indicating that Diddy paid invoices from his personal bank account and his travel management for travel accommodations for Jane and entertainers, allegedly around hotel nights. You didn't write that Mr. Combs personally paid for these. I'm guessing the jury is just zoned out during most of this.
Yep.
Talking to this agent boringly, they're all trying to get things on record, and it's all boring. If you're a jury member, you're like, who, what? I don't care anymore. What? So while they're trying to drown the consent, it's also going to have the other ramification of, oh my God, are we done yet? Are we done yet? Garagos then played more explicit videos of Jane. The jury viewed more than 6 minutes of clips. Garagos said she had one more explicit video to play for the jury before concluding her examination. Garagos said the deputy played the wrong video. That was evidence. The correct video was then played. My God. 1:30, the witness took the stand at 10 a.m. Clearly, Garagos underestimated. I mean, we can argue that now, but they rested very early, so it all worked out. On a brief redirect, the prosecution asked if during the cross-exam they had seen Diddy paying for travel of the worker from Atlanta to Florida. Garagos objected. Prosecution then clarified that the charts did represent every text message in the case and then tried to pull up a message before a specific date. Garagos again objected, saying it was beyond the scope. Prosecution shot back, Miss Garagos did it. The judge then called a sidebar. After the prosecution asked the witness if they had seen any messages between Jane and Diddy that were affectionate or steaming during the time frame, the agent said no. With that, the prosecution said no further questions and the witness was dismissed. Then the jurors left. After the jury, they claimed that they have essentially resetted. At this time, subject to confirming that all the government exhibits are accurately reflected in the record, the government rests. Prosecutor Emily said.
Yeah.
So then they're going to go, prosecution was going to review all the exhibits to confirm it was on order, which they can do, but there it was. And then what was this move from acquittal? This is the standard thing they got to do, I guess?
Yes, this is the Rule 29. So this is basically an outline of what their argument was as to why this case should be dismissed at this time before defense began presenting their case. This is fairly procedural. An acquittal is almost never granted, but this is standard procedure. So I did think that it was interesting to have this, and I mean, we can skim through it, but I'm guessing that this is what's partially going to be in closing arguments. These are going to be their points of what they have proven, what they haven't. So I guess for the prosecution, in a way, this might have been a good thing because they can see what the points are going to be when they get up there, and maybe they can get ahead of some of them. But yeah, basically Alexandra Shapiro took it over and then started making her points.
Yeah, and just failed to show he violated RICO. That's what everyone's been saying for a while. That it failed to agree that he agreed to participate in insufficient evidence of a conspiracy. She argued there wasn't an enterprise in this case. It was simply Diddy engaging in adult acts of his personal time with his girlfriends. That's the key here. Without like that Christina Carome or somebody else who's like basically ratting him out, I'm worried. I'm going to say it. She had said the prosecution argued that bodyguards and high-ranking employees are involved, facilitating, but the prosecution failed to prove any individual actually conspired with him. Right, they're all employees just following because they have to. Because one could argue, Kim, they're in the same boat Cassie and Jane and everybody else is. If we don't listen, we're going to lose our jobs and we're going to lose our rent. Who was actually there maliciously ensuring it was happening? It's a fair question. They did errands and made travel arrangements, but they did not have anything to do with what went on with Diddy and his girlfriends in the hotel room, other than they used baby oil, Astroglide, and drank alcohol, and maybe did substances. She argued that Diddy took steps to conceal the true nature of these hotel nights from his staff. Shapiro said text message evidence showed Diddy sought to conceal the workers from his employees, noting in one piece of evidence, he says, I can't let KK know about the freak off. Yeah, that's bad. But then it's also weird. Why wouldn't they get her to say, this? But I guess that's why, because she would have said, I know nothing about it. And that makes me worried, Kim. Was there really a criminal enterprise?
There were times she did, though. I mean, she talked about transporting substances on his behalf, that she did it all the time and it was no big deal. Right, she was aware of the violence.
Yes. Okay, so they're transferring substances across state lines. It's not right. But is that really what this case is about? That's really
No,
how we're going to get Diddy's, because he brought drugs across state lines. Do you know how many people do that?
Yeah.
It's like so common. It's not like he's out there selling it to the kids.
Let's go back with KK, though. KK was one of the main people who was involved in securing that tape. KK knew something illegal had happened, and she did everything in her power to shield it and to protect him, including bribery.
If I'm angry, that's why. Like, why didn't we get someone like that to blow the whistle? Is why I'm angry, because it's like.
I think what I get frustrated with is I think everybody is focusing so much on Cassie and Jane being like that they are it, that their consent is everything in this case, and it's not. It is not. It has nothing to do with whether or not people were transported across state lines. It has nothing to do with the bribery. It has nothing to do with the extortion of Cassie's parents. It has, like, you just start going through all these other things. I feel like in some ways that type of thinking is just like, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. We're going to focus on the S-shaming. And that's not the whole case. It's just not.
Well, I agreed, but it's interesting seeing, because I do want to go through this, because this is clearly what the defense is going to be. Shapiro said that when KK and security guards learned against Cassie, they tried to help her. They argued there was no evidence Karam thought Diddy's girlfriends were being coerced. She said maybe she thought they were all complicit too, and we're all into it. She said the trial failed to show evidence Diddy tried to bribe anyone surrounding the March hotel attack, because between him and Cassie, she said there was no police involvement. Cassie didn't want the police involved. There were no charges. I mean, I think we proved that the staff was paid off. They admitted it on the stand. So that's going to be a tough one to beat. Like I said, I don't think he can beat all these charges. Eddie Garcia, who worked as a security supervisor where Diddy was filmed, testified he received $100,000 for himself and 2 other employees for keeping the video under wraps. Shapiro noted he signed an NDA that permitted him to report to law enforcement. But is that not a bribe to shut up and not so confused?
It's 100% a bribe. And the thing is, any NDA does not like, you are allowed to report illegal behavior, illegal activity, even if you signed an NDA. That's not like, I'm like, that's not the flex you think it is when you're writing that. Like, that's the same for everybody.
Eddie, who worked as, so that's true. But apparently because he signed an NDA, they allowed him to talk to the police. So it wasn't illegal. Oh, nice try. Shapiro argued that Diddy didn't threaten Mia or other staffers. Mia testified that one of Diddy's security guards offered to send her something which she interpreted as money after Cassie's lawsuit. Shapiro said there's no federal nexus under the RICO charge because there has been no proof of a victim turned to federal officials, or proof of a federal investigation. She also argued Diddy didn't threaten anybody. Shapiro noted how Jane texted Diddy after Cassie's lawsuit, and Diddy did not send any corrupt, pervasive, or threats. Diddy asked what he could do to make her feel better and asked for her support. There's also no evidence Diddy used threats or harm to procure the labor of Capricorn Clark, Mia, Cassie, or Jane. Shapiro said under the Forced Labor Racketeering Act, someone's services must be procured through force, physical restraint, or threat of serious harm. Interesting. While some Diddy staffers described him as abusive and working under grueling conditions with little sleep, they all could have left. I mean, this is a reality that no one really wants to address, because they could have. They just would have not had their rent paid and things for sure, but they all could have. They all could have left. This is going to be just a problem if it really needs to be through physical threat and force. What am I missing? Go ahead, Kim.
I think about when Capricorn Clark was held against her will doing all those lie detector tests for days and days and days, and she was told that if she failed or she left, she would be thrown into the East River. There are instances of this.
Thank you for reminding me of that.
That was done by his security team who worked for him. Rico.
I like this. I'm going to keep challenging, and Kim's going to make me feel more confident. So let's see what else we have here. Prosecutor. When some of the staffers described him as abusive or working under grueling conditions with little sleep, they all could have left. In reality, most were in fear of losing their jobs. That's a point I've made too. Some of these staffers that we think are part of the RICO probably were just as terrified as some of the women. Prosecutor Christie said the government believes the record at trial is favorable to the government's case and can be presented to the jury. She asked the court to decline the defense's rule. The judge said he would reserve his position. Judge then asked Diddy how he was feeling. Diddy responded, "I'm doing great. Thank you, Your Honor. You are doing an excellent job." When asked, is it your decision to not testify? Diddy responded, "We have discussed it thoroughly. That is my decision. That is totally my decision. My decision. I am making it." So they did verify, like,
Yes.
this is your chance to defend yourself. You have the right. You're waiving that right, which makes sense because he doesn't want to perjure himself and risk, opening himself up. It's most lawyers would say he should not testify. So there it was. All right. So then the jury returned and the defense began. 3:07. The defense read text messages put in evidence. In one exchange, Diddy wrote, "You think you can freak off without getting high? LOL." Cassie responded, "Yeah, I'll just have to be at my level. And what is good for me." Another text was read from April 2017. Diddy asked Cassie what she was going to do. "Be your little freak," Cassie wrote back. A few other texts were also read, and Cassie saying things like, "I love you. I owe you a good night. If you want me to call someone, I need to treat my pop better. I promise I will be better. If you don't, you can leave me, but that won't happen." Jesus. In another message, Cassie told Diddy, "You are my best friend. There is no one she loves more than him." The defense then read in stipulations. Daniel Phillip, Diddy allegedly hired to have relations with Cassie, told law enforcement in 2023 meeting that a female client once called him and said her husband asked what she wanted and she requested to be rubbed down in oil by another man. In another meeting, Phillips said that during a freak-off when Diddy would tell him to sit on the couch while Diddy had relations with Cassie, he would feel jealous as he liked Ventura romantically. At 4 of 7 meetings, Dawn Richard, a former member of Danny Kane, had with the government, she did not say that Diddy threatened her by saying where he comes from, people go missing if they say things according to the stipulation. At Mia's first 3 meetings with law enforcement, she did not say that Diddy initiated adult contact with her, according to the stipulation. Brianna Bogligden, a longtime friend of Cassie, did not tell prosecutors that Diddy said he could kill her at a photo shoot, according to the stipulation. At 3:31, the defense team in the Combs criminal trial rested its case. To be clear, the defense spent 24 minutes presenting their case. Prosecutors do not intend to present a rebuttal case. Prosecutor Maureen Comey said. The judge told the jury that they'll be off tomorrow and should return Thursday morning to hear closing arguments. The jury was dismissed for the day. It was revealed that the lawyers will meet with the judge tomorrow at noon to discuss jury instruction. Comey then said, "I hope we don't have to object during defense submission. We don't think it'd be appropriate for Costco lawyer to bring up current events or use of U.S. resources." He replied, "Fine." Closing arguments in the trial are expected to begin Thursday. Defense attorneys and prosecutors agreed to hold court from 9 to 5 on both Thursday and Friday. Prosecutors said she didn't think the jury will begin deliberating until Monday. So there it is. Mark your calendars. Closing arguments Thursday, Friday. We'll have some sort of, update tomorrow. Maybe we'll bring in some lawyers and experts. We'll do a party. Let's try to get some guests tomorrow, Kim, for tomorrow's stream so we can sort of wrap up what's going on. Hopefully BJ or others will pop on in. So stay tuned. We'll find something to recap it all. But there it is. And then Thursday and Friday will be the closing arguments. Kind of the most important parts, if you ask me, because that's what the jury's going to remember the most. How are they going to sum all this up? And then Monday, jury watch. When will we get our verdict? Will it be quick? Will it be slow? We shall see. This is going to be fascinating. I do want to take a moment, though, just to sort of talk about this potential move of not offering a defense. Here's my defense of their defense. It's a level of confidence that does, in fact, scare me. It's either brilliant or moronic. So yeah. It really is one or the other, depending on how the jury will view it. And I could see some viewing this as, wow, they didn't even defend it. They're only going to go focus and point out and knock down all the points. And if the jury agrees with them, it'll impress them, I think, very much so, that they didn't waste the jury's time. I do think that could actually benefit them in a tremendous way. So there's a version of me that thinks, as crazy as it sounds, it's wild to me that it could work, Kim. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you agree there's a part, or does that make you nervous at all? A part of you that if the jury's at all feeling it, they may look back and go, wow, good for him. That's how confident he was, and they didn't waste my time?
I mean, I don't think the jury feels like their time wasn't wasted today. To
True.
be honest with you, because we all thought this was going to be a lot shorter than it was. I was expecting to get to do this recap with you guys much earlier today, and that was not the case.
But getting a day off tomorrow definitely makes up for it.
It's good for them. It's good for them, and I'm happy for them. But I think I do agree with you. It's either brilliant or it's moronic. And what's bothering me so much about this is that we started out with so many witnesses, then 2 weeks, then 5 days, then a day and a half, an hour and a half, and then we ended up at 24 minutes. And there's a lot of things that have been proven here that he's done that are criminal. And it's like the only thing you have to say about that is that your girlfriend of 11 years sent you some steamy texts. Okay. Like, to me, it's a little bit weird. It's a bit weird. I think, again, like, it's the focus on the consent of the women when that there's so much more to this case than that. And I am amazed that there has been very little pushback on those fronts. As far as like the across state lines, or if it's just like they just can't defend it. They can't defend it because it's there. They have it over and over and over again in documentation, for example. So I think it will be interesting. It'll be interesting moving forward, but I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get convicted on all charges, but I think he's going to get convicted on some because it's like, it's all there.
Yeah,
let's
don't get it twisted. I don't like Diddy. I don't believe Diddy. Diddy's a monster. The question is, will he be charged? Will he be punished and put away based on what the feds brought? That's the big dilemma. And I do see in talking to the other side and people out there who have these opinions, and some of them in our chat, 40% of you are agreeing with them. And I don't think you're all trolls. I do think there's a lot of people who are going to push and ask, like, were all of these women really victims, or were they getting something out of it? And did they know what they signed up for and, enjoyed it, and then maybe got frustrated and then maybe wanted him to himself? But there is a part of me that's like, well, you knew what he was. You signed up to hook up with this monster and to freak off with him, and then sort of got mad that you're freaking off with him. And I don't, in some of them, I worry they really were allowed to leave, but they just didn't. Now, it doesn't excuse the behavior and everything else, but I worry about that defense. I think they're going to hammer that hard. And seeing how many people in the public feel that way, which is a reality you guys got to just be prepared for. All it takes is one on that jury. All it takes is one on the jury. And so for them to sort of know that and then just take 24 minutes to do their defense and be like, we're good. We just want to put some of these in to remind you all they liked it. Now, I'm not saying I believe that. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm just looking at it objectively and trying to poke holes to prepare. I think that's what they're going to absolutely do tomorrow. And all it takes is one juror to go, yeah, you know what? It does feel like these women, maybe he was a jerk and mistreated them and abused them, but that's not what these charges are about. And if Diddy's team reminds them and makes that clear, I could see confusion or frustration that could help Diddy in this case more than I expected to. I'll be honest. They were emotionally manipulated. I'm not doubting that. But at the same time, were they all? Were they all? I don't know. I think it looks bad for Diddy, but again, it goes down to the RICO law. Now, as you point out, Kim, and you're right, trafficking, they're crossing sex work and substances across state lines. That's illegal. That's illegal. But after all this buildup, after all the raids and everything else, that was it. His personal, side pieces, hooking up with Paul is what's really we're putting away. I don't know. It's not. I expected something bigger and crazier, to be honest. Disgusting, sure. But I don't know, man. I'm worried. I'm truly worried. Final thoughts from you before we wrap up the recap?
I think I'm interested to see what the jury instruction is going to be. I think a big part of this is going to be people understanding what a RICO is. That's always a challenge. So I guess we'll hopefully know what that looks like tomorrow. And at that point, I think we can probably have some more discussions about whether or not RICO is on the table here with this jury. I do feel that they have proven RICO. I do think they have proven each of the claims. I hope that people are emotionally intelligent enough to understand the dynamics within these relationships and how these women felt that they were trapped and dependent upon him. But we will see as we go forward. And I still can't believe that their entire case was 24 minutes.
Yeah, and this Lindsay, like, excuse me, like, I preferred it when it was just Kim for a while. Andy needs some reflection.
No,
kind of gross. No. I don't need your defense. Thank you. Let me handle myself. Like, Lindsay, we're not an echo chamber. You got to hear the other side. Sorry, you don't like the other side, but it's 40% of your audience. And that's the problem. We have to have the hard conversations. And for you to say something like that on my channel is actually way more gross. No one's forcing you to be here. You can leave. You are allowed to leave. I'm not forcing you, like Diddy, to stick around here. So to say something that is incredibly disrespectful, and it's just ignorant because you are just going in with blinders on, assuming that you're going to win. I'm in no way saying Diddy's right and Diddy should get off and Diddy didn't do anything wrong. I'm warning you legally that there is an uphill battle in what these jurors are potentially going to think. It's what 40% are answering in their own comments. It's what people are telling me as I'm talking to them, fairly. And that's what we have to be prepared for. And I'm sorry you don't want to hear that, but it's the other side of the coin. And we all should be prepared for that. And that's what the point of this channel is, to not be an echo chamber and to have both sides covered and to talk about it the best we can. And I think it's important because I think for a lot of weeks, we just went in, Diddy's gonna go, Diddy, like, be prepared. Be prepared. I do believe he's guilty, but that's not always how it works. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he goes away. I've always made that clear. But I don't know what you're expecting here. I love Kim's perspective. I'm grateful for it. I love that we can disagree and have those conversations. To me, that's what this channel's all about, to have those respectful civil conversations. So if you want the echo chamber and somebody who's only going to just be negative towards Diddy and not think of the whole picture, then go find that channel. We're not going to do that. We look at the whole picture, and sometimes we disagree, and sometimes we have those hard conversations. So yes, I could have been far meaner, but I chose to hold it in, Kim, and be respectful in my response on that one. But mind yourself, because it's important you cover all the sides. And I like to do that. And I know it pisses some of you off, but I hope you understand why I'm doing that and where it comes from, so we can, see the other perspective. Honestly, right now, what's happening in the world, we need that more than ever, to see the way that the world is so divided and extreme, left and right, so extreme. We can't sit back and talk, wait, I'm not allowed to criticize whether we go into war or not. I just have to agree or else I'm the enemy. That's scary shit. I'm sorry. I don't care who's in charge. That's not what I signed up for when I voted. So no, not on my watch. We are all allowed to have opinions. We're all allowed to share them. And that's the point. As long as we're respectful and courteous and civil about it. That's what I thought the world was, Kim. Anyway, let's cut this here. We're going to still talk. Thank you for watching if you're listening on the audio platforms. Thank you to Kim. She's a badass. Go subscribe. Go drop her a tip, support on her link tree. And it's Kim, one word, on YouTube. And if you're watching on the replay, you can catch up the whole show. We'll talk for another few more minutes here on the show. Maybe I'll go more nuclear. You probably won't want to miss it. So hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for all alerts, and stay tuned for more here on Popcorn Planet. And as always,
hold on to your butts.